I'm not centered. Look, can we come over here? Come over this way. Uh-huh. Oh, that's much better. I feel like the message is crooked all day if we don't get here in the center. We want to come right down the center today. Is that okay? This is, we weren't going to do another message in A Taste of Harvest, but I kind of felt like it really worked after the harvest party yesterday. And every year that we have the harvest party, I'm always thinking, man, after that night, I just think of all the things that I'm so appreciative of. That everything that we do in the church, and I always think, we're usually in the middle of a series, and there's a message to come the next morning, and every year I think, man, I'd like to just get up there and tell everybody just how thankful that we are, because it's right in this season of pastor appreciation, the harvest season. We're usually coming off from, what happened last week with all of you blessing us so much. And we just want to say from the bottom of our hearts, thank you. I don't think there are words to be able to say, what we feel in our hearts for pastoring this church. And I just want you to know that as pastors, we love what we do. I've been found saying this many, many times. I love Sundays and I love Mondays. There's something about the completion of a Sunday service, where people are giving their lives to Jesus, people are getting in tune with God. Worship is just always right at the max and at its best, and so much excellence, and getting to work with so many wonderful people. And when all of that is said and done on a Sunday, it's like, my goodness, that was so amazing. And we go home just flat out exhausted. But it's a good exhaustion. And then I think, Sunday night, I can't wait for Monday, because we get to start this all over again. We look forward so much to Sundays, having service with all of you, because it is such a blessing. And last week, the message that Robert brought and all the creative elements of the service. By the way, I love the couch. The couch that you brought. I didn't know what in the world they were going to do with it, but the couch and the drink. I'm telling you, I've never felt so at ease, so relaxed. I didn't know what I was supposed to do, not supposed to do. I got up to go greet the people, and they said, no, just sit down. And I just kind of held back, and I was like, I'm liking this. I am liking this. And once a year, that's absolutely fantastic, just to sit back and enjoy. But what a great word that Robert brought. And so we're just going to kind of go on in that same theme of just being thankful and just showing our appreciation, because I want you to know that healthy things grow.
And unhealthy things grow too, because once I had a growth on no, I'm just kidding. But it's so true. Healthy things grow, and we are so proud of our church. We are amazed. And every family has a climate, a DNA, a culture, a taste, a spirit about it. Like when you enter the home, you feel that sense of family that's in that home. And one thing I never get tired of hearing is when we have people who visit Airborne Church, maybe for the first time, or maybe friends from out of town, or people from other places, every single one of them, they just love this church. They love what they feel when they come inside. They love that feeling of welcome. They love that feeling of family and welcome and friendliness. And I don't ever get tired of hearing that, every time someone visits. And it makes us really proud. It makes us proud of you. It makes us proud of the culture that we're creating here. And that's one of the signs of health, is that you feel welcome. You feel at home there. You feel like you can be who you are. You can be yourself there.
And speaking of being yourself, Beth and I couldn't be more different in our approach to things. She's herself, and I'm myself. And, we don't, well, let me just say this. When we have to come together to do something together, like a message today, the approach is so different. I've got to tell you, as easy as this looks, setting up here today with our coffees, as a matter of fact, that's your coffee, honey, and that's mine, because we are ourselves and we make our coffee different. And mine's with a red straw. That it's difficult. It's difficult. And I just want you to know that if some of you look at marriage, like with us setting up here, and you think, man, wish we could do marriage and wish we could approach things like they do. It always looks so easy. I'm telling you, it's not easy. It is just not easy. And how many would agree that when Beth speaks and when I speak, it's totally two different approaches with two different personalities? Okay, they agree. And so we're coming down the road today, and you can just tell we're not quite on the same page. And I just say, honey, say what you want to say, and I'll say what I want to say. And somewhere we'll meet in the middle, because we're just thankful. We just love this church, right? Right, she says.
Your coffee's not centered, by the way.
Oh, her details are not mine, and mine are not hers. But we just wanted to say, we love pastoring our church. We pastor some of the most wonderful people, and I mean that with all of my heart. And one thing we couldn't stop talking about this week was just how healthy our people are. I want you to know that a lot of times people will see me at the door or through the week or text me or email me, and there'll be different comments like, I know how tough it is to pastor a church, or I know some of the things that you might be going through, or some of the things you might have to deal with. I'm going to tell you, the hardest things that I have to deal with is just moving the church forward. It's the next thing. It's the next blessing. It's the next challenge. It's the next mountain. It's the next accomplishment. I've got to tell you, a people with a vision, they don't perish. But I think if your vision is just dealing with a mess all the time, then you'll get messes all the time. And that's not my vision as a pastor, is just to deal with people. If you give a lot of attention to people's messes, they'll just keep bringing you more messes. Now, I'm not saying I'm not interested in your mess, but here's what I believe, is that if we create an atmosphere of being a healthy church where the presence and the power of Jesus Christ is in it, that when you come to church, when you get in contact with God, not with the pastor or his wife, but when you get in contact with God, there are so many things that he will take care of that 100 sessions with us will not even begin to touch. We have to teach people to trust in God. And that's one of the greatest strengths that I believe is in our church, that people must be going to God for their answers. Because we're just, day in and day out, we really are not dealing so much with that as we are just moving the church forward. And we just celebrated last week, not just Pastor's Appreciation, but 14 years of pastoring this church. And what a great journey it has been. Not without its challenges, But what a great journey has been. And we are in a harvest season. Another thing, honey, 29 years this past week we have celebrated as being married. And our prayer today is that we make it to 30, because that'd be a great milestone, don't you think? So we want to make it to 30. Then we'll talk about our strategy for 31. But we're just attached at the hip. We're solid, and God's just moving us forward. And next year, not only will be our 30th anniversary, but our 15th anniversary for the church. And I can't wait for the first week of January, because we're going to lay out our vision for the whole year of 2018 here at Airborne. And what an amazing year it's going to be. Because I'm going to tell you, folks, we're going to celebrate all year long in 2018, because this church is going places, and we're just going to celebrate all the things that God is doing in our lives and what we believe is going to happen in 2018. Let me read to you this scripture in Proverbs 15:23. It says, "A person finds joy in a fitting reply, and how good is a timely word." And that's really what we want today to be, is a timely word. I think this, that when people feel like, and they know and they understand that they are in a healthy church, things are growing around them, and they learn and they understand, oh, this is how you got here, or oh, this is how things operate, or oh, this is how you see the church. That in and of itself, when they hear that, when they learn that, there's something about that connection that they make to a timely word. And not just a timely word, but a healthy word. That, wow, I'm in a healthy church. And to know that, you just get this expectation that I'm going to grow. Things are going to change. And I'm just believing that for you today, that in this timely word, in this healthy word, the words that you hear spoken today will resonate with your life, and you'll capture a vision. Maybe you'll begin to pray something specific, that God will come in and do something amazing within your life. So that's what we want this to be, is a timely word, a healthy word for you today. Just going back to the harvest party last night, I really wish I could describe the full spectrum of everything it takes to pull off an event like that. Because we do a lot of events here at Airborne that are so family oriented, and is the reason why we do them. But these events, they're big, they're huge. And when you think of last night, I just want to tell you, all the planning, the setup, the organizing of the candy drop and the collecting of candy. Anybody see how much candy was out there on that table, under the table? And I think we did over 100, probably 100 to 150 gallons of candy last night. Unbelievable. There was candy everywhere. So then security and the parking, oh my goodness, we've never ever in the history of Green Landings or Airborne Church had so many vehicles to park. As a matter of fact, after 250 cars, they started to trickle in. And I was telling the parking team, I said, well, they're just starting to trickle. Looks like we got plenty of room, and we had room. We thought for at least another 100 cars to get up to 350 if 350 cars came. And so that trickle lasted for about 3 minutes. And then there was a steady stream for another 20 minutes as 400 cars rolled into Green Landings. Now, you might ask, how many people would be there from 400 cars? Well, let me just tell you, there were very few vehicles that we seen two people get out of, and hardly any vehicles that one person would get out of, but a lot of minivans that like 7 kids would get out of, and then the adults got out. So they were just poured in, filled up, it's just, it was so cool just to see that happen. And our parking team did fantastic, and we had to improvise a little bit. But for the absolute full length of the runway where we had parking was just cars from one end to the other. And so to pull off an event like this, with a bonfire and all the bales of hay that are put out, and the food, oh my goodness, the food to feed 14, 15, 1,600 people. I don't know how many people all those cars represented, but it's a big deal. It's a big deal to feed that many people. As a matter of fact, Wayne Bryant, he started with the pig 28 hours before the event even started. He slept out in a tent to make sure, that the temperature stayed just right on the pig. And we had, I think it was 1 or 2 pans left over after the night was completely done. So well done. And I just want to give a shout out also to a few other people. Donald and Patty Greenwald. This church is blessed to have families like the Greenwalds in it, and the Collises that were the last ones to leave the place last night. I think I was half asleep when I saw the lights of their vehicle just leaving the place. And let me just say, there's so many people we could thank for being there last night. But there's 2 of the families that just represent the multiple kind of families that we have in our church. And if you look at those families, they're healthy families. And they're families that are planted in the church. Their roots grow deep. And I'm going to tell you, healthy families cause the church to grow. Not only cause the church to grow, their families are growing in so many different ways, in good ways. So we got them to thank.
I think of David in the Psalms when he says, you know what? I'd rather be a doorkeeper in the house of God than to be 1,000 other places. And the prayer of David is so represented in so many people here, because David also prayed in the Psalms for a willing spirit. He said, Lord, just make me willing. Just make me willing. Give me a willing spirit to make me just willing to do what you're calling me to do. And I see that over and over and over again, because people are just saying, you know what? Just put me in the house. Just plant me in the house. I don't care what I do. I don't know if it doesn't matter if I'm parking cars. It doesn't matter if I'm backstage. It doesn't matter if I'm helping the children or teaching the children. Just put me in the house, because I'd rather be in the house of God than 1,000 other places. And I love that this family of Airborne embraces that inside in the very depths of who they are. Just put me in the house and make me willing to do whatever.
But that makes me think, and I got to tell you, this has got to be the Lord just to be speaking this out there. Sometimes we get way too anxious about our relationship with the Lord and where we should be in our relationship with the Lord. And a lot of times we credit where our relationship with the Lord is as to where we are serving in church. That is unhealthy. I say, just as long as you're serving your relationship with the Lord, whether it's here, at your work, with your children, your family, co-workers, friends, listen, that's all part of building the kingdom of God. But I watch people get so confused. Man, what is it that the Lord wants me to do? I just don't know my next level of ministry and where God's taken me. Can you help me find out where I'm supposed to be? And I think David, that came up through the ranks as a young man, just watching the sheep, he ends up slaying the giant. He ends up slaying enemies. He ends up being the king of God's people. And then he says, man, Just put me in the house. Just put me opening the door. I'd rather be there than 1,000 places elsewhere. And I mean, that's like being the king, being the head honcho, being the guy that runs the whole thing, leading a whole department. Please don't ever be anxious about a so-called next level ministry or position. Just to be part of the kingdom. I tell this to pastors all the time, and everybody wants to grow their church, or they're wondering if they're even in the right church. And I think, man, just be thankful that you're part of the kingdom work of God. Just to stand before God one day and to say, I served your house faithfully. Faithful is going to be the number one. He's not going to care what position you held. He's going to wonder, did you serve it faithfully? Did you enjoy doing it? Did you put your best effort, or did you feel sad about that one lowly spot that you stayed? You saw it as a lowly spot that you stayed in your whole career of the church. And no, he wants you to just step in and say, man, I parked cars my whole life at the church. I greeted people my whole life. I smiled. I patted people on the back. I said encouraging words. I collected up that offering when they said, collect the offering. I helped people find their seat. I taught those children. Listen, just to be in his house, better than 1,000 places elsewhere. Somebody needed to hear that today. And I got to tell you, if you ever feel like you need a next level ministry and you're just opening the door for somebody, I'll trade with you one Sunday. I love greeting people. Just love greeting people. So we've got so many things to be thankful for. And let me also say this from the harvest party. What a great evangelism that is to our neighborhood and our community. When we started the harvest party, there were people that made sure that every year they would steal our signs. And then weeks later, I'd be like, them terrible people in our neighborhood that would do, because they didn't want the party to come. And I just thought, that's awful. But I just, I would try to find out who it was. And I don't know what I was going to do if I found out who it was. I'd probably say, give me my signs back. Them are nice signs. But a few weeks later, I go down to the end of the runway, and there all our signs would be. After everything is over and done, and they felt like maybe they held people from coming. That was back when like 200 people came to the harvest party. They didn't hold nothing back. They didn't hold a thing back. And you know what? They don't take our signs anymore. And you know what? They actually tell us, people from all over that community and the neighborhood next to us, they all bring their kids. They love it. We get the most positive words and encouragement from all that. They can't wait for the harvest party to happen. And now people on the other side of the bridge, further on down past us, we were talking to so many families last night. We've never met them. They said for years we've been driving by these signs wondering, what in the world is going on up there? There sure looks like there's a lot of cars. And we decided we would just drive up and see what was happening. One guy told me, he says, I drove up amongst the crowd of cars and I thought, oh my goodness, what have I got myself into? He said, it took me 25 minutes to get back out of there. And I said, why did you leave? He said, to go get the rest of the family. I thought, that's wonderful. So I talked to him a little bit about church. He says, you got a church too? You got a runway and you got a church too? Well, I'll see you at church too, Pastor. And I'll bring my kids there and I won't be late this time. And I thought, what great evangelism that is. And that's why we give you invite cards. That's why we create opportunities for you to invite people to events, because you get to do it in your own neighborhoods as well.
Well, again, it's another thing we're thankful for about you guys. You have a sense of bring about you. You love to bring your family. You love to bring your friends. You love to be inclusive of people. And this is not an exclusive church. This is an inclusive church. And, How many first-time guests did we have at Adored this year, at Adored Women's Conference? Because you guys have a spirit of bring on you. I think there were 250 new women at Adored
259.
Conference. Okay. 259 brand new women at Adored Conference. And that's because you guys have such an awesome inclusive heart and a bringing spirit, and that's why the harvest party grows so incredibly, and we just love that.
Yeah, it's fantastic. And that sense of unity that we have around a purpose and around a vision is the one thing. Jesus prayed a prayer for you and I. And this was the prayer that he wanted to go down through time of the church, to be the unifying prayer. And this is the one prayer. Now, Jesus prayed other prayers, but what he prayed for you and I want you to capture this prayer in John 17, 20 and 21. As a matter of fact, through the whole chapter of John 17 is this prayer, and you should read it later. But he says, I am praying not only for these disciples, but also for all who will ever believe in me through their message. I pray that they will all be one, just as you and I are one. As you are in me, Father, and I am in you. So he's praying to the Father. He says, you and I, we are one. And my prayer for the people in the church is that they be one. I mean, that was his prayer. Listen to the end of this, because this is the purpose of this prayer. He says, and may they be in us, so that the world will believe you sent me. Unity is our greatest witness to the love of God to people that have never seen it. Unity. It isn't a great program. It isn't a great event, because you can have a great program. You can have a great service. You can have great worship. You can have a great event. But if there isn't unity in it, the love of Jesus does not shine out. And so that is what we seek for every time that we do something within our church, is that there is unity there. Because we know that through that unity, Jesus says, that's the way the world is going to end up believing in you, the Father, and believe in me. So we through our unity is what brings the love of Jesus to other people. So I'm so thankful for the health within our church. My goodness, we are so unified. There is so much health in our unity today. And it is the vision of us going forward, that vision that unifies us, the vision of that we embrace of, well, there's a couple of different things, but the one thing that always comes to mind is building for future generations. If you were asked anybody in this church, hey, what are we all about? And we would say building for future generations. And that's really taking the grace of God to everybody that we can. So we're thankful for that. We're thankful for this house of worship, and it starts with a vision. And let me just say this, that a house with a vision and a house that is healthy, that comes from the people that are in it. We would not be able to accomplish our vision first without people buying into that vision, agreeing with the vision, and then buying into the vision. Because we can't do what we do like we did last night. Listen, that whole thing is free, and I don't want to begin to tell you how much that stuff costs. But I tell you, we keep doing it. And the resources keep coming in. People keep giving toward what we do here at Airborne Church. And so that vision gets accomplished because you keep buying into it. You keep sowing, you keep putting the seeds forth, and these seeds, they keep on growing. And then we have people that serve. Oh my goodness, we have so many people that serve and get involved and volunteer, and it takes hundreds of volunteers to do what we do.
It's a spirit of generosity, and I love that. We are a generous church. You are generous people. You're generous with your time. You're generous with your hearts. You're generous with your talent, your investment, and even your finances. And God blesses generosity. And something my mom and dad always taught me was you cannot outgive God. You cannot outgive him. And his word is true, and you cannot mock the justice of God. You will reap every single thing that you sow. And so we're learning that as a church together. And that's why we emphasize it every single Sunday when we talk about being generous and we talk about giving in every aspect of our life, whether it's time, talent, treasure, resource, whatever it is, because it's something that in this family we want to develop that culture of that spirit of generosity that you can't outgive God. And the more you sow, the more you'll reap. And every seed that you plant, it's going to bring a beautiful harvest.
Yeah. Another thing that we're so appreciative of in this vision of starting this church is our children have followed along with that. And we are so thankful for all of our children serving in the house. Ethan and Cammie and Emily and Mario, they're all on our team here. Nobody carries our spirit better than they can. Nothing against anybody else. Our whole staff knows it. That's our children. You know, they carry our heart. That's our bloodline, and there's something about, you know, the bloodline of a family that chooses to serve God. And I want you to know that's the same in every one of your families. Mom and Dad, I don't care where your family is at. Just keep serving God, and know that we've talked about this so many times. Whole house salvation. And I don't want to get on that message today, but what flows in your blood flows in the blood of your children. You say, well, it doesn't look like it right now. Oh, don't let the devil tell you that. Because I'm going to tell you, deep down inside, the blood that flows in your veins flows in their veins. And you can believe in Jesus' name for whole house salvation. We've seen it in our family. And I love that we get to example that. And Beth, you can take it from here. I can see the tears flowing already, so I'll let you say something.
I don't know if I ever shared this with you guys before, but when we first started the church, it was a big commitment. And we knew that it was not just going to be our commitment, but that our kids were going to come along on the journey with us. And it was a big deal at the time. And I just remember there was one night I was sitting in my driveway and just contemplating what we were about to do. And I remember being a little unsure about it. And I looked up at the stars and I was a little bit mad at God. And I said, God, we'll do this, but my kids better not suffer because of it. Because I hadn't always seen healthy pastor family. I hadn't always seen that, and there's a lot of things you hear about PKs and a lot of stuff that goes along with that. But I remember saying, God, my kids, I hope they better not suffer because of this decision. And now I look back, and it's all these years later, and my little girl's up here leading me in worship this morning, and she's saying, let the devil know, not today. And and when you look back and you turn around and you see the generations behind you are now leading you in worship and encouraging you and praying for you, I'm going, you know that the devil is a liar, and he did try to keep me from going all in. But because I went all in, trusting God, trusting my husband, and trusting that God was going to put the right people around us, now I can look back and see my beautiful son playing guitar every Sunday, and you might not hear a lot from him, but you hear his heart in what his music is doing, and you hear his heart, and I don't know where he is right now. He's probably hiding because he's not a public person, but you need to know that Ethan has the most beautiful heart. And there's a call of God on him. And I'm so proud to see my kids leading worship and to seeing them not just being drug along in the vision, but being a very real, very mighty part of it. And then Eldon and I don't really have words for, but we'll all see what God leads him to do one day. And I know he's 110% Kevin Green, so who knows? And then God also, because of the planting of our family, because we decided to keep our kids planted, they brought our children the most perfect partners to complete who they are. And then we have Mario, who is so passionate and so in love with God. And we couldn't have asked for a better person for Emily. And then there's Cammie, who just absolutely loves people and pulls Ethan out of his shell sometimes. And she adores you. She adores this church. She adores God, and she loves being a part of it. And so I do look back and I say, devil, you lied to me. You made me feel like my kids were going to suffer because of this vision, but they have done nothing but flourish because of their planting and because of their involvement.
It's good.
Jesus is the hero in this story.
Eldon said last night after the party was over, he said, I'm so lucky to be the pastor's son. So I love it that my kids love the church. And, you bless us so much every year. And I want you to know, when you bless us, you're blessing our children, because we always want to make sure that our children are blessed. And, out of your giving last week, I told Ethan and Cammie, I said, I'd asked them the week before, what is it that you're going to do fun this year? And Ethan says, you know what? Because he and Cammie have been getting into snowboarding. And he said, man, I'd just love to have a season ticket to go snowboarding all year long. Because it's expensive to go snowboarding if you pay every time that you go. And he was telling me how expensive it was. And I said, man. And I talked to Beth about it, and I thought, out of that offering, that's the first thing that we're going to do for Ethan and Cammie is buy them both season passes. And it couldn't have made them more happy. It's something they get to do together. It's good for their marriage and healthy for them. So thank you for blessing us to bless them with something so good. And, I want them to know that serving the church brings about some of the most happiest moments in their lives. And that's just the way that it ought to be. Haven't decided what we're going to do for Emmy or Mario yet. Actually, half afraid to ask them, because I think Emmy should probably say diamonds or cruises or something like that. And then I think, man, Ethan and Cammie are cheap. But we will be blessing them as well. We just want to take this day, we have more things here, but we just want to take this time to say thank you. What a blessing this church is to us. We love pastoring Airborne Church. I got to tell you, we had a great vision for the church. It's exceeded our expectations. And when Beth was talking about, you don't always hear the healthy stories of, pastors and their children. And God has helped us to tap into something here at this church. You've helped us as pastors to tap into something that's special. And I can tell you there are pastors that may be watching this live or may be watching it over the next month or whenever they get to tune into it. I'm going to tell you, it's going to become a blessing to them. They're going to want to tap into something that we've tapped into. And this is not just for us, church. This is something that can go global. the blessing, the healthiness, the growth that we experience in our church as a unit, as one, as family. Oh, I want this to spread so far beyond us to a city, to a state, to the nation and the world around us, everywhere that we can have influence. I'm praying that it reaches those people.